Tammy will offer tips on recruiting the right employee during her 30-minute presentation. Will you join me in welcoming Tammy Decker?
Good morning. Thank you, Sean. I work at T.G. Mercer and have worked at T.G. Mercer over in Willow Park for about 5 years, and up until this May, worked with George Mercer. And I want to tell you a quick story about George because I think it speaks to a little bit about just the kind of people we need to be in business. When I started working, well, when I applied at T.G. Mercer for the VP job, I had been the VP of HR for a company that worked out of the top floor of the Tandy building. So what I wore was very, very important. We kept a very corporate feel the whole time. Anyway, George said to me over and over again, Tammy, we don't want to feel corporate. We don't want. And after about 2 years of him scolding me for dressing up, he finally said, don't you get it? We have all these field staff. And when they walk in here, I want them to feel just as comfortable in our space as we do. So for 3 years, I've been wearing jeans to work, so I decided I'd stick with that. George is a great man. He is missed. He passed away in May, and he taught me a lot. So anyway, just hats off to George. So today we're going to talk about recruiting the right employee, and I'm going to give you a lot of very practical information and guidance on how to recruit the right employee. I'm not going to spend a bunch of time talking about academics. We're going to scoot through that. But I want to give you some practical tools on how to best recruit the right employee. So let's talk about the recruitment process. It's pretty easy. First thing you got to do is you've got to decide, what am I looking for? We've got to define that first position, and we've got to publicize the open position. Then the hard part, picking the person. We've got to recruit somebody. We've got to review resumes. We've got to have a phone interview. We need to have a face-to-face interview. We may need to follow up with them. And then finally, we hire someone. That's our goal. And we want to do it quickly. So that's important. So defining the open position. So someone leaves, and you need to fill their position. Or you've decided you're expanding, and you can add a new position. We've got to do some important work long before we start looking for someone. We've got to. Ooh, you can't even read that. That's too bad. Okay, that's okay. Job description. So if you have a job description, that's a good place to figure out what you're looking for. But what I'm going to tell you to do is push aside that job description and just for a minute sit down with a sheet of paper and write down what is key to a good employee of what you're wanting. So maybe they have to have a license or a certification. Maybe you really, really feel like they've got to have experience in the industry or experience in the job. So then you've got to figure out 2 to 5 years, 5 to 10 years. I need someone who's done this for 20 years. Jot that down. What else do you need? Do you need a personality trait? Do they need to be outgoing? Or accountants, they don't want anybody outgoing. They're just really, really happy just not talking to anybody. So no offense. Maybe it's a salesperson and you need someone who's super content being out in the field, pounding the pavement. You need to jot down 5 or 6 key qualifiers that you're looking for in this position. That's going to be really important to have in your pocket. Then you've got to write a job posting. Super easy. Guys, job postings, they're not hard. Just put down what you want. You don't need to spend a bunch of time cleaning up that job description because everyone's going to apply for it. They're going to read the title and they're going to apply. It's as if there wasn't even words on the posting. If you say you need someone who's proficient in Microsoft Excel, the person you're having a phone interview with is going to be like, I'm not familiar with Microsoft. Now, so just don't get too caught up in all the words of the job posting, but get it written. And the other thing I want you to do is I want you to establish what you feel like your target pay rate is for this position. I don't want you to publicize it. I don't want you to talk to your candidates about it yet, but have an idea of what your budget can handle. Because you're going to fall in love. We all fall in love with a candidate who wants about 1/3 more than we can afford. And so I want you to have that in your pocket so when you refer back to it, you can go, okay, truly, I'm in love, but there's a reason. They're just too expensive for my business. So have that set aside. Then you've got to publicize the position. There are a million ways to publicize your position. First thing you need to do, where are my candidates looking? Are they computer savvy people? Maybe then the right places to post on ZipRecruiter or Indeed or CareerBuilder or Monster. Are they in this community? Lisa talked about today the East Parker County the chamber has a site that you can post their jobs to. Are your candidates looking there? Are your candidates on Instagram or Facebook? Maybe it would be great for you. We had a position just recently, a part-time position. Would have been perfect for a parent who has a kiddo that they have to drop off and pick up. It was a part-time job, but we need someone with a college degree to do some accounting work. We didn't even post it to most of these. We just put it on kind of a handful of people's Facebooks and said, we've got a job in Willow Park. Let us know. We got tons of interest just from that. But I will tell you, the #1 place to find a good candidate is referrals from your friends, from your family, from your church, your chamber, any other organizations you're in. Those are great places to find not necessarily the candidate, but to find people who know others that could be interested. So, you've posted the job, you've gotten referrals, and now your email looks like this. Those are all resumes that have to be read or reviewed or looked at. And I read thousands of resumes, and there is no way to get more weary than to read resume after resume. I have some fantastic favorites, but I want to tell you how to get through them quickly. So So first, did we watch the Olympics? Do you remember them telling us about 1,000 times the green dots, the red dots, the yellow dots, and what they meant, and that those strange people on the ice skating with the figure skating, they kept telling us the red dot, and inevitably they'd do something wrong, or they wouldn't do anything wrong, and there'd be a red dot, and I couldn't understand what the heck did they do wrong? I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to tell you, this is what we got to do with resumes. We got to do this with resumes. I want you to go back to that key qualifiers list. Do you remember? We made those 5 things that they had to have. So we're going to create a scoring system. I don't want you to look at names. I don't want you to even read it top to bottom. We're going to look for 4 or 5 things. So let's say you decided a college degree is required. They get a point for that. Why a point? I don't know. Give them 5. I don't care. Just assign it a point, right? Okay. Do they have the license or certification that you needed? They get a point. Do they have that Excel and Word experience that you need? They get a point. Do they have experience in the industry like you needed? 2 points. +1, +1, +2, move on. Total it and move on. Move through the resumes like that. Make a stack. Then, when you've gone through your 267 resumes, which is so much easier if this is all you're doing, you're not paying attention to the summary paragraph. Why? I mean, no one's reading that. No one's reading your cover letter. Don't worry so much about that cover letter. No one's reading it. We're just doing this. Total the score. So you've got a total of maximum of, what, 5 points. Go and sort through, pick out all your 5s and your 4s. And you look down and you go, wow, I've got 3 resumes. Now I have a consumable task ahead of me. I can get through 3, or I can get through 5. Or no one got a 2. I'm going to reevaluate or wait for more resumes. Because if those key qualifiers are what you haven't found your person yet. So that's an easy way to get through those resumes. So now you're down to 3, right? Okay, real quick. Things that you knock out a resume for, if you see. First, if they don't have the education or experience to meet your minimum job requirements, don't fall in love with the other stuff on their resume. Don't compromise at the resume review point. Don't compromise there. Knock them out. Oh yeah, the gaps in employment history. Now, if you can figure out why they might have missed, that's fine. But if someone's got gaps, big gaps in their employment history, knock it out. You got 267 of these things you got to get through. Knock it out. Jobs with less and less responsibility or authority. Something's wrong if they were the accounting director, and then the accounting manager, and then an accounting coordinator, and then an accounting administrator. You know, something's happened. That's okay, but we're just going to take it out of our stack, remove it. Being clearly overqualified for the position. This is someone who's hungry, and they're going to be hungry for about 10 minutes in your job, and then they're going to be knocking on your door for a raise because they're overqualified. Or they're going to be bored, which is probably worse. You don't want someone bored in their job because they're going to start, I don't know, causing problems or doing other stuff that you don't need them to do, or just genuinely dissatisfied in the work that they're doing. So don't worry about that. Knock them out. And excessive numbers of jobs in a short period of time. So this is the number one thing you're going to see. I have employers all the time say, Tammy, this guy's had 3 jobs in 5 years. I was like, I know, isn't that awesome? I mean, that's great compared to what I've been reading. You know, I've got a 3-month, a 6-month, a 4-month, an 11.5-month. You know, you're going to see lots and lots of resumes where people jump around. Be pleased with people that stay in work for a year or more. Don't get caught up in anything more than that. If you feel like someone needs to have been in the job for 10 years, you're going to be looking for a candidate for a long, long time. It's just not the traits anymore. There's just not many people that stay in jobs for 10 years or 5 years for that matter. Okay, so we have found our top 5 candidates, and we're going to do some phone interviews. So I want to talk to you about a phone interview. A phone interview is not a time to be asking interview-type questions. These, once again, are knockout questions that you're going to be talking to this employee about. You're once again trying to find out why they won't work, because you don't want to invest a bunch of time in someone who's not going to work out. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to tell them the information about your company. Basic information, 2 sentences. TG Mercer, we're a pipeline logistics company. We load, move, and unload pipe for the oil and gas industry. That's all you need. Give them that. But then you're going to tell them the most important thing. Where are you located? Where will they be working every day? Because you've got to find out if they're okay with the commute. I'm not okay with a commute from Springtown to Willow Park every single day. But there are people that are completely fine with driving from Springtown to Willow Park. You need to talk to them about the location. Is it too far? Is it not too far? Are they okay with the commute? That's a knockout. So then you're going to give them a few details about the job, some high-level stuff. Include the days and times of the work, general responsibilities. I don't normally disclose pay target at this point. I am going to ask them, is the commute okay? Do they meet the minimum requirements? Do I have any knockouts? Do I have any key qualifiers? Do they have that certification that's required? And is it current? And then I ask them, what salary or what pay are you looking for? And a lot of them are like, you know, I don't know really, but what did you make in your last job? Tell me what you're expecting in your job. Get that now, because that's going to be a knockout question. If they want twice as much than what you're willing to pay, it's a knockout question. There's no reason to have a face-to-face interview and fall in love with them if they want twice as much pay than you can have. Okay, so what's the next? You're going to talk to them about next steps. Normally at this point I say to them, listen, I'm going to go over my notes from all my phone interviews. I'll get back to you in the next week or 2 and let you know if we can schedule a face-to-face, and let that be. And that's all you're going to talk to them about. I typically don't set up an interview with them on that call, but you can. There's nothing wrong with that. If you know after talking to them for 5 or 10 minutes that they're worth coming in. Okay, so that's the phone screen. All we're doing is filtering, trying to get through the resumes. So you decide you're going to have a face-to-face interview. What are you going to do? You're going to determine the date, time, and location for the interview. You're going to notify the candidate. I pick up the phone, I call them, I give them the information, I find a time that works. I follow up with an email to them that says the date and the time, the location with the address. I'm going to tell them who they are interviewing with and what their title is. I'm also going to give them the company website. This is a trick. You're going to ask them if you visited the company website during that interview. Did they invest 34 seconds in looking at the company website? And you're going to start, on the side, you're going to start preparing questions. I typically, with that email, say, please respond to let me know that you got this and this is confirmed. One of the things I find with my employers that are posting jobs, they are in shock and awe at how many people stand them up for an interview. Guys, 1 out of 3 people aren't going to show up for a scheduled interview. I have no clue why. But this is one of my steps to try to prevent some of it, so that I've emailed them, I've communicated with them, and I've asked them to reply back. But don't get your feelings hurt. It's not because they don't like you. It doesn't have anything to do with that. It has to do with that, I don't know, One Life to Live was really good, and they needed to stay at home. I don't know. Maybe, you know, they lingered at Walmart. Anyway, 1 in 3 people aren't going to show up for your interviews. Okay, so now it's time for an interview to prepare our questions. Do we have a screen for that? Okay, so these 3 questions. So I want everybody to get a partner, real quick. Get a partner. I'm serious. In your partner, decide one of you is A and one of you is B. Okay? Okay, person A, I want you to answer one of my favorite of all interview questions. If you were an animal, what animal would you be and why? Please tell person B. A, answer to person B. Okay. Okay, come on back. I know we could do this all day. It's so fun. Okay, I have a brother-in-law. I have 2 brother-in-laws, but I have one brother-in-law that said this, was asked this question in an interview. He was shocked he didn't get the job. He said a house cat, because house cats can sleep all day and they never have to bathe. No. Bad question, worse answer. Don't say house cat. House cat. Anyway, okay. Okay, person B. Now you get to answer to person A, why are manhole covers round? Why are manhole covers round? Okay, come on back. So, I'm going to give you the answer in just a minute, but these 3 questions are fantastically wrong. Do not ask these 3 questions. First, the animal one is ridiculous. There's no one that's going to give you good information that has anything to do with the receptionist position that you posted about what kind of animal they want to be. I want to be a lioness. No, no. Okay. 2, manhole covers. Okay, there are books written on this. This used to be one of Microsoft's questions. So manhole covers are round, well, because it won't fall in the hole, supposedly. They're also, a large circle won't fall into another circle. That's why they're round. But here's some other great answers. Because it's easy to move, you can roll it. No pointy edges to poke tires. 2 great answers. Wrong answers, because people are round, is the single most popular answer to that question is because people are round. But you want an artist because the universe is round. I got that one too. Okay, don't ask those questions. They don't have anything to do with your job. They don't have anything to do with what you need this person to do every single day. Now, the tell me about yourself. This is a trap question. It is a trap. You know what I'm going to say to you? Well, my name's Tammy Decker. I love going to Aledo United Methodist Church. I'm a mom, a wife, and I have 2 boys, one of which is special needs. He's a handful. Now, do you know what I've just done to you? I've absolutely told you every single thing you don't ever need to know about someone. Don't ask this question. And I'm not saying the person's doing it manipulatively. They might be. But they're going to offer you information you don't need to know. You simply just don't need to know. So be careful. Be careful, be careful with your interview questions. So what should we ask? Well, we need to ask bona fide occupational qualification questions. Ugh, lawyers. So what do I mean by that? I mean, if the job requires someone to be able to lift, I talked to a guy just yesterday, if it requires someone to be able to lift 50 pounds, don't say, do you have any disabilities? Seriously. No. You know what you do? You have a 50-pound box in your office that they have to lift during the interview. I'm serious. If you've got someone that's got to be able to do that, put one in your office and see if they lift with their legs. Okay? Or whatever it is they're supposed to do with lifting. Okay. Now, Parker County, if you've got someone that's got to work on Sundays, don't ask them, do you go to church? Don't do that. Ask them, are you available to work on Sundays? Because they'll tell you, well, I really go to church. And, well, that's someone that's not available. If they bring it up to you, that means they're not available. Okay? So just yesterday, my friend Jeff, he asked me, he said, so this job, it's like 90% travel. So should I even look at resumes from women? So, okay, I got over it. I took a breath, and I said, well, why wouldn't women be able to travel? And he was like, well, you know, they're moms and stuff. And okay, I said, I totally get you, Jeff. I totally hear what you're saying. The pharmaceutical industry is completely filled with women that travel 90% of the time selling pharmaceuticals. Women travel. Women travel. What do you say? You don't say, because you're a woman, are you willing to travel? You just say, this job requires 90% travel. Let me define that for you. 6.5 days a week you're traveling. Are you okay with that? And the best qualifier is someone who can say, yeah, I did that for 5 years for Johnson & Johnson. Or I did it for 5 years for, you know, Epic Oil. That's a great way to qualify someone to see if they really are willing to travel or not. Okay, those are bona fide occupational qualifications. Open-ended questions. So yes or no, not a big fan of yes or no, because you don't learn anything about someone asking a yes or no question. An open-ended question says, give me information. I also want to hear things that you've done in the past. If you said, Tammy, someday, do you foresee yourself being able to run a 7-minute mile? If I really need the job, I'm probably going to say yes. The likelihood of that is never. I'm not going to train to run a 7-minute mile. I'm not going to eat the right things to run it. It's never going to happen. So instead, ask me what I've done in the past. If you're looking for a good customer service rep, ask them, tell me about a time where you went above and beyond for a customer. Give me the details. What did you do? And if they can't come up with something, not your candidate. If you are looking for someone who is going to be a project manager, tell me about your biggest disaster in a project that you managed. What went wrong? What did you do going forward to fix it in the next project? Because trust me, every project manager has had something blow up. Every time. Salespeople, ask them, where did you have a sale that just went all right? Everything went right, and what did you do to make it go right and keep going right? How did you retain a client? What kind of actions did you take as a salesperson to retain that person? Ask them what they've done in the past. They're going to be much more honest than projecting about what they might be able to do in the future. Okay? Open-ended questions. The last one, focused on past performance, experience, and job fit. Kind of what I just said, but I want to tell you about, does anybody know Darius Geis? Okay, my golf friend says yes. Darius Geis plays football. He played football for LSU. I'm a Longhorn, so it's hard for me. But he's a very good player. He actually is the only SEC player in history with three games of rushing yards over 250. It's a pretty big deal. He was at the NFL Combine this last week and performed excellently. They're saying he could go round 1, round 2, which is him skipping his senior year at LSU to do it. So 2 clubs. Geis, projected as one of the top running backs in the draft, told SiriusXM Radio that one team asked if he was gay and another asked if his mother was a hooker. So that went wrong. So here's the deal. There's no scientific proof that your mother being a hooker in any way correlates to good or bad football NFL playing. Absolutely no. I don't even know if a study's been done. There are things, ask questions that have to do with the work. You are going to stay safe and in completely non-legal, questionable areas if you just ask about what the job requires. That had nothing to do with his ability to play football. Proven, because if his mother was a hooker and if he's gay, it somehow paid off at LSU, obviously. It has an impact. I mean, unless his mother just recently got into this, occupation. I don't know. Anyway, okay, so what can we not ask about? Let's see. Okay, we don't need to ask about race, age, religion, color, place of birth, disability, marital status, children. Now we can add to the list sexual orientation. But why do you need to ask about those things? You need to step back and say, what am I really trying to ask? Because I know all of you out there, y'all aren't poorly intended. You're not trying to somehow manipulate the people that come in your door. You're just following a path. It's like that Sunday's question. Do you go to church? Well, you're genuinely asking, can you work on Sunday? Just reframe the way you ask questions. But stay away from those that don't have anything to do with if they can do your job right or not. Okay, the next one. I've got to hustle. Avoid biases. Know your biases. And oftentimes those biases sit on that previous page list. But I'll tell you, I have a bias. I'm biased to college-degreed people. When I read resumes, no matter what position it's for some reason, I'm typically drawn to people who have college degrees. So what do I have to do? When I sit down with a job that does not require a college degree, I have to very, very consciously say, doesn't matter. Don't even look at it. So take a little personal self-evaluation. Do you have a problem with short people? Do you have a problem with, I don't know, people with glasses? Figure out what your bias is. I'm picking some silly things, but we know what those are. We know what our biases are. Be conscious of them, recognize them, so you can set them aside. Okay. Pitfalls. Oh, man. So my dad has this phrase that he's told me since I was little. He's like, if you're dumb, hire smart people. If you're smart, hire people that disagree with you. One of the greatest pitfalls is hiring a cookie cutter every single time that's just like you because it's so comfortable and it's so me and I get them and they'll always tell me that what I do is right as a leader. That's not what you want to do. Surround yourself with different kinds of people. That's the whole point of, you hear people say diversity, and typically that comes with a handful of rolled eyes. This is the benefit of diversity, is you've got someone who's a little different than you that might have a little more perspective, might have a better perspective on your client base, your customers. So avoid that pitfall. The other one is a halo. The halo pitfall is basically deciding that one thing this person has gives them permission to have no other key qualifier. If they know how to do a pivot table in Microsoft Excel, forget the college degree. We got to have them. It's a good skill, no doubt. But so just be careful that you're not deciding that one factor is the winning factor. So you get to the end of the interview, you wrap it up, you allow the candidate to ask some questions, you summarize what happens next. I would give them a chance to ask some questions. It shows if they've prepared a little bit. Some people will say no, but that's okay. But I often like hearing that they've put some thought to the position. They have a question. End the interview on a professional note. So you have a finalist. You have a finalist. I want to give you some secondary follow-up interviews. If you have a finalist and you want to make sure they're right, there is nothing wrong with taking another step. Having them go to lunch or dinner with you and your spouse and their spouse or something like that, especially if they're like a salesperson who's going to be taking other people to meals. It's a great interview opportunity to get a little more casual atmosphere and make sure that they don't, eat with 4 forks or, slop around or whatever. I mean, it's an opportunity to kind of see how that person's going to function with your clients. A peer group interview is a great idea. Presentation, I love the idea. If you've got someone that's going to be presenting to your clients for something, having them make a presentation to you as a part of an interview. I didn't think I could do that. Absolutely you can and you should. Sit with the employees. So if you have a high turnover position and you're running them off pretty quick, have them go sit with someone before you hire them so that they have a real idea of what they're doing. Run a background check if you want. Look at their social media if you want. But asterisk on that, you may learn more than you need to know. But there's nothing saying you can't. There's nothing wrong with confirming their education if it's key to the position, calling the school, making sure they have a degree from there. Okay, time to make an offer. I like making a verbal offer over the phone first, working out all the details, and then putting it on paper or in an email so that I don't have to keep sending emails with adjusted offers or whatever. Just get it out over the phone. I typically like the candidate to have to sign that offer letter just so I feel good about that they're confirmed and coming. I like to make sure we have a finalized start date, time with the candidate, supervisor, who they're going to be with, and all of that. That's it. Only a minute and a half over. Do you have any questions? Wow, nothing? Okay.
Can I get a copy of your presentation?
Absolutely, absolutely. Lisa, can I just get it to you and I've got it in PowerPoint.
It will be on our website and our Facebook page when Joel gives me the link to the YouTube presentation.
But I also have PDFs, so we'll get that to you. Absolutely. Anybody else? I hope it was worth it. I hope you got something out of it. Thanks again. It was a huge honor, and I really appreciate your time.